this science. I see it's kind of like a theme in like all these diets, like keto and carnivore, even the sugar diet. Even I don't think Cole promotes the science so much, more so he just says you have energy while losing weight. But like any of these diets, they'll put these titles out there and they'll be like, oh, the science said, you have this 40% increase in this sort of mechanism in your body. And that 40% increase is, really going to contribute to an immense amount of fat loss. When with these people who sort of make these titles to get views and everything, I mean, that's sort of the point of YouTube, you get your point heard. But they have all these titles and everything that makes people who aren't familiar with dieting or who don't really understand them think that, oh, well, if I do this diet or I do the keto diet, I do the carnivore diet, all these mechanisms happen and I can just lose weight without being in a caloric deficit, because caloric deficits don't work and calories don't exist. And that's just not how the human body works. Well, we can forget calories. We can throw all that out the window, because all that science behind all these mechanisms is such a small percentage of what actually happens that causes you to lose fat, right? So when you put your body in a caloric deficit, that is the most that is the biggest factor in how you're going to lose fat. And it is the only factor in how you're going to lose fat. Everything else will fall in line after that to maybe perhaps increase the amount of fat loss that you have. But if your body doesn't have any reason to take from your fat stores, why would it? Oh, I'm not, I can just eat 400 pounds of meat a day, and because it's carnivore, I just don't gain weight. I just eat 400 pounds of meat a day. I don't gain weight. That's not true. I mean, calories is such like a weird word in the carnivore sphere and the keto sphere, because people think they don't exist, which they do, right? But it's not like a one-to-one thing. It's not like carbs are equal to protein, protein's equal to fat, blah, 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 blah. They all have different mechanisms, right, in your body. But at the end of the day, the calories that go under each macronutrient, 4 for protein, 4 for carbs, 9 for fat, if it goes over what your maintenance level is for the day, you're going to stay the same. And if you go over, you're going to gain weight. If you go under, you're going to lose weight. Okay? So don't get hung up on the science of any of these diets. Just know that the energy you expend in the caloric deficit your body is in is the most beneficial factor to how you're going to lose weight, period. Okay? But you don't have to think about calories every day. When you stay strict to a diet, right, like carnivore, I mean, you don't have anything to cheat from, right? Maybe you're doing carnivore and you're like, oh, I'll have 2 scoops of ice cream here. That won't hurt. And it's like, okay, so you have 2 scoops of ice cream each day. Let's say maybe that's 300, 400 calories. And you do that a couple times a week. So, over the course of a month, that could have been 3 to 4 pounds of fat you could have lost from just the ice cream, because you're eating excess calories, right? You feel full, you feel fine on all the other carnivore meals and whatever. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to have some ice cream. And then, you don't lose weight. And it's like, oh, I can't lose weight. Well, it's because you're eating excess calories. You're just not holding yourself accountable for some reason, because you think that like the human body is just like this magical like thing that doesn't have to adhere to any sort of law of thermodynamics, which is hilarious because people will listen to one scientific study and then the other scientific study is just completely false. And it's like, oh, that's not true. That's not how these things work. And it's like, you just disagree with it because it's not agreeing with what you said, right? It's like, I don't disagree with all the mechanisms that people say that the carnivore diet does, but like, I don't disagree with them. But then when it comes to calories, it's like the end of the world. It's like, that's not how the human body works. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, what do you mean? If you ate 3 pounds of ribeye and maintained your weight for a month, what would you think happened if you stopped eating 3 pounds? Or let's say you ate 6 pounds, you just started eating 6 pounds of ribeye. You're just not going to gain weight. Your body's just going to be like, The survival mechanism that I have used since the humans have been alive, and the survival mechanism that comes into effect during times of starvation, which is the body fat stores I have. And the way I get that is when I have an abundance of food, I realize, I can store the energy from that food in my body as fat. So I'm just not going to do that anymore because I'm on the carnivore diet. So you would just die. You would, that doesn't make sense. You would die. That doesn't make any sense. You know, it's hilarious. People are like, I eat, 5,000 calories a day on a carnivore diet. I'm 130 pounds and I don't walk. It's like, I'm going to have to tell you something, man. You have no idea how to count calories at all. You have a zero clue. And I've seen so many comments on people's pages saying that. And this is kind of turning into like a anti-carnivore thing, but I think it's not really anti-carnivore. It's just people are misled, right? The carnivore diet works 100%. The sugar diet works 100%. Okay. Main difference being with carnivore, you have protein, which your body needs, and fat, which your body needs. The sugar diet, right, is just straight carbs, okay, with limited amounts of protein and almost zero fat, but it gives you energy to continue performing, right? Just broke my apple there. That's why people think vegans are like super skinny and they don't have any muscle, they don't have any weight. Well, it depends on their lifestyle and if they lift weights or not. But let's say they don't lift weights, so they're not going to have big muscles anyways if they don't lift weights, but they might be skinny, but they have energy from the vegan diet. Okay. I guarantee you, if you added in some protein into their diet and told them to lift weights, they would put on size and they would put on body weight. Okay. Why? Well, again, calories, but your muscles need protein to build upon, right? You can't just build muscles from zero protein intake, but it's just to hit on it again. Don't get hung up on the science. Don't get hung up on the calories, but know that you have to be in an energy deficit to lose fat. Okay. But you might not notice it, right? People like, oh, I've counted calories before. It didn't work for me. Well, you got to go into that more in depth. So you counted calories. Okay. What did you eat? It's like, well, I ate a cheeseburger. Okay, you ate a cheeseburger. What kind of sauce is on that cheeseburger? And they're like, oh, some mayonnaise, so I don't really know. Okay, so a mayonnaise sauce, that could be 100 to 200 calories on a cheeseburger. And it's like, okay, did you have any sides? Yeah, I had fries. Okay, did you have ketchup with that? Yeah, I had ketchup. How much? I don't know. I just smother it. Okay, so there you go. That's 100, maybe 100, 200 calories right there, not counting. That's 400 calories right there. All right? People just don't realize how sneaky calories can get in. So when you stay strict to a certain food diet where it's super limited, and I would call the sugar diet pretty strict, but there's so many different carb sources you can get, so it's sort of wide in that area. There's a whole bunch of carbs you can take from, whereas carnivore, it's just meat, right? And there's different ways to prepare meat, different things you can do, but I don't know. I think just meat in itself is just boring, and there's not too much you can grab from, but it still works. Why? Well, when you stay strict to it, especially someone who's never stayed strict to a diet in their life and they don't cheat on it and they hold themselves accountable and they do well, they lose weight. They just might have problems with energy because let's just face it, it's easier to work on carbs. I mean, I've done carnivore and sort of like keto diets where I have zero carbs for a long period of time. And then let's say maybe at the end of a 3-week period, I have carbs like that. It's like it's like energy I've never felt before in my life, which is the only reason I might go back in the future to sort of cycling through that kind of diet, just because that feeling of finally having carbs and working out on it is just amazing. It's just so amazing. But to wrap this up, don't get hung up on the science. Stay true to the diet, stay strict to the diet, hold yourself accountable. Don't cheat, right? You don't have to worry about calories as long as you feel good and the scale's dropping, okay? That's what you have to at least hold yourself hold yourself accountable for, is to count your weight going down, right? Because if you're not tracking anything at all, it's kind of hard to gauge if it's actually working. So use the mirror, use the scale, don't worry about calories, just keep going and keep going until you get to a certain point where you're probably at a goal body weight anyways, but maybe you want to see as lean as I can possibly get. You might have to start counting calories, or at least doing it a couple times a week to see where you're at. Or if you don't want to, just throw in a sugar fast day. Okay. Because again, Cole's diet is more sugar fasting days mixed in with protein and vegetable days, which in my opinion is carb cycling, except it's taken to the extremes where there's zero protein, zero fat, straight carbs, and then protein, very minimal carbs, zero fat. Um, but so many people are hopping on it. People are having success. So we'll see where it goes. I'm just going to keep making videos, commenting on what Mark Bell says, what Cole says, what other sugar diet advocates say, and we'll go from there. But good luck to everybody and enjoy the progress.